We're called Solomon's Porch. We've been around for 12 years. We have a variety of activities throughout the week, but one of which is engaging with the community. So we're very happy to have you here with us tonight. A couple of housekeeping things, if you could, you've already done, but if you could make sure that there's room for people to sit next to you if there's more space or more people coming in, that's great. Bathrooms are downstairs, and yeah, we're glad you're here and wish the best to everyone. So thanks.
Good evening. My name is Alice Mormon, and I'm here representing the League of Women Voters of Minneapolis, and I will be moderating the forum this evening. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization founded in 1920. Our mission is to inform all voters and to encourage civic participation. Although League supports positions, it does not endorse political candidates or any political party. The League of Women Voters now welcome both men and women as members, and if you'd like to learn more, we have information on a table back there. Rustling papers makes noise here. This year, with ranked choice voting as our election option, it is important to know something about all of the candidates, because you will have the opportunity to rank your top 3 choices in the election for mayor. And that election is on November 5th. And because there will be no primary election in September to narrow the field. So thank you for coming. It helps you know who the candidates for mayor are. I will do my best to ensure that tonight's forum is moderated fairly and competently. And now I'd like to go over the rules that the candidates received and accepted and that apply to tonight's forum. First of all, no campaign banners, signs, literature, or other campaign paraphernalia are allowed. I know some of the supporters had buttons, and I asked them to take them off so that it's a neutral forum here. The first order of speaking has been determined because the candidates drew numbers. And then following their beginning talks, the questions will come to them in a random order because of a predetermined grid that I'll be working with. Written questions will be taken from the audience, and cards have been handed out, and they will be collected throughout the forum. So if you don't have a question right now, I see one right now. So raise your hand, as that gentleman did, and they will be collected by our ushers. League of Women Voters reserves the right to screen questions. Our intention is to, in good faith, to select questions that represent the interests expressed by the members of our audience, and all questions become the property of the League of Women Voters. Time limits on responses will be strictly observed. A timekeeper, well, there she is, will hold up cards that will be visible to the candidates, indicating how much time they have left. And when the stop card is shown, the candidate must stop, but you can complete your sentence. I have the responsibility of enforcing the time limits, and I have the authority to interrupt the proceedings to enforce the ground rules and format that were agreed to by the candidates. Candidates will not be allowed to bring notes or props or use a smartphone or a tablet. So if you have a smartphone, don't bring it out, okay? We don't know what's on the other end of that smartphone. And also, candidates have agreed not to use debate clips from this evening's forum in their campaign ads. And now I just want to review our timetable. We will begin with the candidates in the order that they have are seated to give their opening statements up to 2 minutes. And following that, we will have questions from the audience. And that'll go until about 7:45. And then at 7:45, we will have what we call a lightning round. And I'll explain how that goes before it happens. And then at 8 o'clock, we're scheduled to close the forum, but that will give you an opportunity to also meet the candidates and to maybe ask that question that you didn't have asked in the regular questions. So, any questions among the candidates? Okay. We will start in the order where people are seated and for your opening remarks.
Okay, I'm off to a good start. Thank you very much. First of all, I'll say getting out of that chair is a little challenging, so we may want to pass the microphone around. Thank you very much to Councilmember Glidden for arranging this evening, and for Solomon's Porch for hosting us, and to the League of Women Voters for being our moderators this evening. I'm Jackie Cherryhomes, and I'm running for mayor of Minneapolis. I'm running because I want to make Minneapolis a city that works for everyone. A city with vibrant and engaged citizens, a city where business and labor are partners with each other, a city with a can-do spirit. With all of that, Minneapolis can be even stronger. I know Minneapolis's challenges. We all know what those challenges are. But I'm interested in moving forward on our opportunities. I'm going to build Minneapolis into a city where our property taxes pay for what we get. We get good value for our property taxes. A city that is safe and secure. A city where we have a vibrant economy, both in our neighborhoods and in downtown. A city where our residents are housed and where our residents are working. But most importantly, a city where everyone is welcome and everybody is valued. I've lived in Minneapolis all my life. I grew up in South Minneapolis. I now live in North Minneapolis. I truly, truly love and am committed to this city. It's gotten the best of me for all of my life. I've demonstrated the ability to bring people together, from labor to business, throughout the neighborhoods of our city. I've worked with labor people, I've built housing, I've created jobs, I've given the best to this city. I believe that I can be a strong mayor for our city because I have the skills, the abilities, the commitment, and the experience to lead our city into the future, a city that works for everyone. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Cam Winton. I am a husband, a father, a homeowner in the Fulton neighborhood, and a business leader in the renewable energy world. I'm running for mayor because I love our city. Just take a moment and soak in this scene. We all have so many things going on in our lives, and we all came here tonight in this beautiful, remarkable space to talk about the future of the city that together we all love, to chart this next chapter. This is just one example of why I love our city so much. And I'm running for mayor to build on all that's great about it, while at the same time bringing a fresh set of eyes to the challenges we face. This is a great event because you're going to hear from a lot of different candidates for mayor, and the other candidates are good folks who've worked hard to make our city better. But with great respect to them, I would point out that I am coming from a different background than their background. Together, the other candidates have 54 years in government. That's not my background. I'm coming from the private sector. My colleagues and I all 120 of us built a wind turbine maintenance company, providing services to wind turbines across the country and around the world. We sold that company a few months ago to the largest energy company in the United States in a deal that preserved the jobs of all 120 employees and enabled all to share in the benefits of the sale. As mayor, I would draw on that background to provide the essential services of government effectively, to make it easier for companies to start here and hire our citizens and grow here and hire more of our citizens. And I would draw on that background to make sure that every single resident of our city enjoys opportunities to thrive, most importantly by making sure that our schools put our students first. My name's Cam Winton, and I look forward to the discussion tonight. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and it's great to be here and to see you all in this wonderful space. I thought this is the plushest cage match I've ever been in. And thanks to Councilmember Glidden, who I'm glad is not in the race because you're such a great council member. But I'm Don Samuels, and I'm running for the office of mayor. And I'm the one person you will not hear say, I grew up here and I went to school down the street. I have the misfortune of not having had that. But you will hear that I came to America with $83 and a clear vision of the possibilities for my life. And I spent 30 years or so in the toy industry, having to create products from nothing. That's how my life has gone. So I've had to have a clear vision for the future. I have a clear vision for the children of this city, that every child can be educated to their highest potential, and that there is no excuse for failure, that effort is not enough, outcomes are what's important. I have a clear vision that everybody can be safe in our city, and that the child can play in their yard, grandma can walk to church, someone can bike to work without ever worrying that they are not safe. And I have a clear vision that we can create a vibrant economy that attracts vibrant industries to hire educated people who will create the great future that our city can be. I hope you support me in my bid to be mayor of the city of Minneapolis. Thank you.
Thank you, Don, and thank you to the League, Councilmember Glidden, and everybody else who had a role in putting this forum together tonight. It's an important thing, running for the mayor of the city of Minneapolis. And I'm running because I love our community. Yes, I was born here. I was raised here. I raised my children here. I went to public schools here. I started my business here. I ran for office here 5 times and never lost an election. And I'm running because I have a unique blend of skills to make a great city greater. I am running for several reasons. First, we're going to make Minneapolis the greenest city in North America to guarantee our future prosperity. Next, we're going to work with our children and honor our children with preschool, during school, after school programs so that they can succeed and get jobs that contribute to our economy later in life. And third, I am going to take my experience as a business person. I am a business person with 14 years experience making payroll, building a green marketing company, all green all the time. And I'm going to work with the private business community and the workers who work for their companies to make our city prosperous and to build tax base and to build jobs and to increase our population. Running for mayor of Minneapolis is a job like no other. It requires very unusual skill sets. I think I have those skill sets. Number one, anybody who knows me knows that I'm an innovator. I will work hard, and I will talk more about the issues because I think I've run out of time. Thank you.
They said we could finish our sentences if we run out of time, but I think that was a run-on sentence. I'm Gary Schiff, and I want to thank everybody for being here today, and especially I want to thank former Mayor Sharon Sills Belton. Thank you for your leadership for all the years stewarding our city. Thank you so much. I'm running for mayor of Minneapolis because I believe that we have an opportunity to help small businesses grow and our neighborhoods grow stronger. I grew up the youngest of 6 kids in a middle-class family that was steeped in Union heritage. I was taught the values of hard work, education, and the importance of helping others. And I'm a product of the public schools and a proud graduate of the University of Minnesota. I love our city. I love our diverse neighborhoods. I love our arts economy. I love that you can walk down the street and feel safe when you know the people in your neighborhood. And I love our culture of locally owned, independent small businesses. As mayor, I will put Minneapolis first by making sure that city residents get jobs on city projects. I will put a focus on closing our disparities with an emphasis on early childhood investment so that we can shatter the cycle of poverty that is keeping so many children from achieving their fullest potential. Because I believe in the most progressive city in America, every neighborhood can make progress. And I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Betsy Hodges. I am running for mayor, and I want to thank Councilmember Glidden and the League of Women Voters and Solomon's Porch for putting this together tonight. And I have to say, you guys look really great, and it's standing room only, which is fantastic. And I've had the opportunity to talk with folks all across the city for many years now. And what I find is that we all want pretty much the same thing. We want a prosperous, unified city that works. And in general, that's what we've been getting these last few years. The resident survey indicates that, and I'm really proud of the role I've played in making that happen. Minneapolis is poised, better than almost any other city in the country, to weather and prosper in this economic recovery as it happens. I'm running for mayor because I'm a leader with experience who can bring people together and unite Minneapolis around a strong progressive agenda that will create jobs, that will make sure all our kids are thriving, that will make sure our neighborhoods are safe for our families, and that will make Minneapolis the greatest city of the 21st century. And I ask for your support.
I know it's on. Hi, my name is Jim Thomas. I am running for mayor, and I'm seeking your support. I was born in Minneapolis at Swedish Hospital, and I can even beat Don. I had no money in my pocket when I arrived in Minneapolis. There were $83 ahead of me. I'm a teacher, and I've been a coach, and I actually see another cross-country coach in the room here. I raised my kids here in Minneapolis, and they went to public school. And And I work as a special ed teacher, and I have a unique vision and knowledge of the workings of the public school, and there's some discussion I think I really want us to have, especially regarding the charter schools, regarding class sizes, regarding testing. You know, and some of the folks have really emphasized their expertise in business, and I think when I'm mayor, I'll hire some of these people as consultants to help us do these things. So, let's see, what else is going on here? Well, this is my first race. I've never run for office before. I'm getting up there in years, and I'm willing to take a few risks. I am a team player. I love my job. I love my colleagues. I think the city, the school board and the superintendent are working their tail off to make things successful, but I want to be part of the process. I think out the box. I'm, as you can tell, maybe a little creative and can think on my feet a little bit. And so I think I can bring a unique voice to Minneapolis, and I ask for your support. Thank you very much.
Now we'll take it over so that each of the candidates will be able to answer your questions, and the order will be this random grid. And so I'll read the question, and if I have to repeat it along the way, I'm happy to do that. The first person to answer this question is Don, and then I'll tell you after Don who gets to answer. I don't know if you want to use the mic or whatever. Anyway, the question is, Hennepin County asked to increase the amount of garbage burned at HERC. Hennepin, you guys, you know, Energy Recovery Center. Thank you. What is your position regarding usage at HERC?
Well, we're all concerned about our environment, and this is a facility that was built and proven to burn garbage clean. And I think that if we have objective analysis of the gases or the fumes that come out of this facility, then we make our decisions based on facts. I don't think any of us should be making decisions based on political expediency or fears. We just get good information by objective sources, and then we make our decisions based on that.
And the next person to answer is Betsy.
Wow. That's how much energy I have. I understand why the HERC exists. I understand what it does. For folks who don't know, it's a place that we take our garbage instead of the landfill and we burn it. My position is I don't think we should increase the amount that we're burning at the HERC, bottom line. I do understand that there are arguments being made that the particulate emissions are acceptable. I disagree. And increasing them to a higher level, that is the level of emissions that I just disagree. I don't think that is the sensible way to proceed here in the city. I think what we need to do is redouble our efforts on recycling and reducing our waste level. And I think here in the city what we can do is encourage our recycling program and move toward a zero waste city. So to answer the question, I don't support increasing the amount we're burning at the HERC.
Do you want to pass it to Gary?
I believe in the right to breathe clean air. And I think a choice between burying and burning is a false choice. The choice should be on reducing our waste. And as mayor, I would sponsor a zero waste planning initiative, like many other cities across the country, to reduce the amount of waste that we are generating. That is the only way we can move forward and become truly a sustainable green city. I do not support the expansion of the HERC burner. The plume models show that it will impact negatively children from the lowest income neighborhoods in the city of Minneapolis, where particulate matters contribute directly to the rates of asthma that we see right now in inner city neighborhoods. We should not expand this facility. It's coming up on 30 years of age. Now is the time to ask ourselves, how do we get out of the false dilemma of burying versus burning?
Do you want to pass it to Cam?
I also do not support increasing the capacity at the Herc burner, but I'd like to make 3 points that haven't been made yet. First, it is insulting to our community, to every resident of our city, that the company that has the contract for the Herc burner, the company that makes money taking our garbage and burning it there, would even come to the city council, as they've done, and ask for permission to increase the amount of burning and therefore emissions without first doing an environmental impact study. They're coming and they're asking to put junk in our children's lungs before they've even completed the study to see how much junk they're asking. That's insulting. And as mayor, I'd go tell them to pound sand. The second point is that I have lived in my business life clean air. Wind power is not perfect, but no power source is. And I'm proud of the work that my colleagues and I have done to make wind-generated electricity cost competitive and reliable. I'm out of time. I'll share the third another time.
Could you pass it to Mark, please?
The Herc was built for 2 reasons. The first is the legislature mandated the county get out of the landfills because all of the landfills were leaching toxins into the groundwaters. The solution at that time was to create a system that allowed us to actually generate energy, to actually generate alternative, renewable energy, displacing. This is the biggest and most successful alternative energy project in the history of the state. That facility generates 30 megawatts of electricity, and it displaces coal, fuel oil, natural gas, and nuclear as an energy source. It has been proven time and again to be way below the state standards and the federal standards for toxicity. I'm going to have to take a look at any studies that anybody references here today to see if that has changed. If it has changed, we'll revisit the additional capacity.
And will you pass the mic to Jim, please?
Thanks. And I think if I stand this way, I can speak all night because I'll never see the stop sign. In terms of the Herc facility, I'm vaguely aware of it. I'm not knowledgeable about it, but here's what I think. I think as a county, we should be sharing the pain of whatever kind of technology we're using. So if at this point we have this much pollutants coming into our community and we need more, then we should be building another facility somewhere else that's not in Minneapolis, it's in the county that can handle the kind of additional waste that we need to be talking about. So that's my position. Thanks.
And please pass it to Jackie. Thank you.
Thank you. Hennepin County has a program and has a plan for waste to energy and for how they deal with energy and how they deal with our recycling. And I support the plan that Hennepin County has put together. The fact of the matter is we are increasing our recycling in Minneapolis. We've expanded to be single sort recycling citywide now, and that's a wonderful, wonderful first step. And we're all recycling a lot more. But the fact of the matter is everybody in this room knows you got stuff that you can't get rid of. And it's got to go somewhere. And it's either going to get burned or it's going to go into a landfill. And you got to deal with that, and that's the reality. We can aim to be zero waste, but the fact of the matter is everybody in this room's got extra stuff that they got to get rid of. And so I support looking at whether or not we should increase the burning there. It does produce energy, as Mark talked about, and I think that's an important asset in our community. I also would beg to differ. I would love to see some of the studies that were referenced here today because that's not my understanding of the latest research on the Herc.
Thank you. The next question is, how can the mayor influence the public education system to close the chronic achievement gap or otherwise improve schools in general? And I'd like to ask Mark to be the first one to answer.
the mayor has a really unique platform. It needs to be stated that the mayor and the city should not be trying to take over the educational system. But the city and the mayor can be very useful in dealing with the achievement gap, playing the role of a convener. If you look at what a mayor does, the modern mayor has an amazing platform to pull parties together. And everybody recognizes today that the educational system does not have the budget and in many cases not the expertise to deal with these difficult social problems that these families have. So as mayor, I have stated in my first month, I will convene a blue ribbon task force made up of families, made up of institutions, made up of the city, the parks, the schools, the legislature, and the foundations, and maybe even a kid. And they will have a time-limited 6-month deadline to deliver the list of prescriptions to deal with that problem. It is the highest priority and has to be the highest priority for the city.
Would you pass it to Don, please? It's right behind you.
Well, you know, I've been very concerned about this issue for such a long time. That's why I started the Hope Collaborative to bring the leaders of successful urban schools that graduate 90% and above of their kids, the Capri Theater, to present to the district and the community what works for urban kids, low-income minority kids. We know what works in our nation and we can implement it. And I applaud Bernadette Johnson and the Progressive School Board that's there now for the work they're doing to implement some of those things. And I promise that I will be the one that's going to lead the community to support the school board and the superintendent to help parents understand their role in their relationship to the teachers and the schools and restarting a re-education of parenting as a school resource. A mayor can do that because the mayor has a bullet pulpit and the ear of the citizens and the parents.
Would you pass it to Jim? Thank you.
I think this is an area where I have the most experience, the most knowledge, and can bring more to the table. You've heard that the mayor is not supposed to be doing the kind of influence of the school board and things, but I'll tell you right now, our current mayor and some of the people, at least one of the people here, speaking at this forum, have been actively involved in bringing in specific kind of school board members. One of them is a 26-year-old Teach for America person. This has been a political agenda in the district. Now, everybody has their right to opinion, but I think that we need to, as a community, have all the different kind of Minneapolis PTAs come together, voice their opinion. And if you agree with what's happening, that's great. But I do want to have a larger discussion. It doesn't need to be blue ribbon panel, but it would be helpful to have that kind of group together. And I'll stop now. Thank you.
Pass it to Jackie, please.
Every student in Minneapolis deserves a first-class teacher in front of them in their classroom, and every parent should expect that every child should grow 1 year grade growth at least in school every year. We have to have high expectations, and we have to work together to achieve those expectations. I would act as a convener because that's the role of the mayor in this discussion. It is not the role to take over the school board or to usurp the superintendent. The role is to be supportive and to convene. That's what we did when Mayor Sells-Belton and I were on the city council, when I was on the council with Mayor Sells-Belton. We regularly convened meetings with the school board, with the superintendent, and we worked together and we worked in unison so that we were all working to bring a good education to our kids in our city. I would also add that what I will do is work on parental involvement. We've got to get our parents involved in our kids' education. As a parent, I know how important that is. I got a 16-year-old. I know what happens when I'm not engaged with the teachers on a regular basis. And we've got to get our parents involved. We've got to show them what parental involvement is, and I'll be a good role model for doing that.
Would you pass it to Betsy, please? Thank you.
That's how much energy I have. This question and this conversation is one that comes up more than any other as I talk about running for mayor and as I talked about running for council. And it's one of the reasons, as a result, that I'm running for mayor. But to call it an achievement gap is a misnomer. It's an opportunity gap. And those opportunities aren't missed just in the classroom. They aren't missed just when a kid starts kindergarten. It starts from before they're born, and it goes until they have a career. And so the role the city plays is supporting those kids and supporting those families throughout their entire lives. So the city's health department has healthy family programs that start from prenatal on. Our transit system and our housing work help create stability for families so kids are more ready to show up in school and learn. The mayor also does have a role to convene. We can stand up. There's a lot of good work that can happen when you get your ships sailing in the same direction, and the mayor plays a big role in making that happen, and that's what I will do as mayor.
Would you pass it to Cam, please? Thank you.
I'm the product of a public school education. I went to public school from kindergarten through 12th grade, and because of the remarkable work that my public school teachers did, I was able to go off and get 3 degrees from world-class universities, and I'm really grateful to my public school teachers for doing that. But this topic is one of those where I think you're going to see a clear difference between the fresh set of eyes I'm bringing and the desire from some others to keep doing the same thing over and over again and think we're going to get different results. We know as a country what works to improve educational outcomes. Here's a list in no particular order. Longer school years, longer school days, principals getting to choose the teachers that are in their schools, tying pay to performance, having higher expectations for our students, our parents, and our teachers, ending last in, first out, giving parents the support they need to choose the best school for their child. As mayor, I will promote all of those and anything else that improves educational outcomes. And to do that, I'm going to be seeking 4 appointments to our currently 9-member school board. We cannot let another generation of kids fall through the cracks.
Gary.
There is no greater investment that we can make with a higher return than the investment in our youth. As mayor, I would dedicate the community development block grant dollars for social services that we get from the federal government into an early childhood investment fund. I would reach out to the corporate leaders across our community and ask them to match our investment, a long-term investment. If you're concerned about crime, if you're concerned about unemployment, if you're concerned about the health disparities, we have to attack the disparities before they start. It is in the prenatal programs that Councilmember Hodges referred to. It is in disrupting the cycle of poverty that passes on lack of opportunity from generation to generation. We have to attack the root cause, which is poverty. We have to work together as a community with the private sector and the public sector to raise the resources we need to save our kids.
Why don't you hold the mic, because you get to be the first one to answer the next question, which is, what is your vision for transit in the city of Minneapolis?
I believe we need a transit system that is affordable and accessible and gets you where you need to go. As someone who chaired the Zoning and Planning Committee in the City Council for the last 12 years, I got to start the first planning for bringing back streetcars to Minneapolis by sponsoring the first resolution that called for Met Council, city and county, and city engineers to get together and start talking about how we can bring back the tremendous culture that we once had as a streetcar city. I've worked to implement the Hiawatha Light Rail Corridor as a resident of South Minneapolis. The train goes just 2 blocks from my house. And I know in Southwest Minneapolis, in order to make sure Southwest succeeds, we must make sure that co-location doesn't occur and that we get a light rail system that is going to connect to our buses, our future streetcars, to make a transit system that connects every neighborhood and everybody together.
Give it to Cam to be the next one to answer.
Here's another topic where I think you're going to see a contrast between a fresh set of eyes and 54 years in government. I do not think that streetcars are an important part of our city's transit future. They are cool, They are shiny. My toddler thinks they're neat. But is that a reason that we should spend hundreds of millions of dollars on them? Bus rapid transit is not quite as good as a streetcar in some minor respects, but it's a lot cheaper. And the money that's saved by using bus rapid transit rather than the streetcar is money that we can put into other priorities, keeping our streets safe, making sure our roads stop crumbling. And so for me, for transit, the important thing is a bus system that builds on all the achievements so far and continues to get to where people need to go. Another thing to consider with buses versus streetcars is that it's tough for us to sit here today and see into the future to know exactly where development will take place, but once you lay down streetcar lines, they're there. But buses have flexibility. Thank you.
Jackie.
Now I've got the energy. A transit system needs to be multimodal. And when I say multimodal, it's got to involve everything from your legs to bikes to buses to trains to light rail to the planes to everything. We've got to have a complete multimodal system. I will support a complete street system for bikes to ensure that our bikes, we can get to where we want to go on bikes. Bikes are both recreational, they're economical, and they're healthy, and they get a lot of people where they want to go to work. So I'll support the complete street system for bikes. I'm actively involved in light rail in North Minneapolis. We're promoting the Bottineau line and the Southwest line. We know that neighborhoods that have light rail have 30% more jobs and higher property values. That's one of the problems with North Minneapolis is we're not connected to anything or anyone. You can't get to there and we can't get to you. So we've got to have a light rail system that works. But we can't wait for the light rail system to get developed. We've got to work on buses and transit that can happen right now. We can't wait for Bottineau to get built in order for us to get connected to the rest of the world. I'm also a supporter of the Southwest Light Rail. I've worked on the Southwest Light Rail, and I absolutely will not support a co-location of the trains in the Kenilworth corridor. That's a deal stopper for me.
You want to give it to Jim, please? Thank you.
Hi. In a couple days, I'm heading to Chicago, visiting my kids there. Neither of them need a car. They go to school and they work without having to have a car. So I support trying to build a system that will meet the needs of our citizens so they can be carless. Whether that means building, looking at can we build it above ground and connect the city that way? Or can we buy one? Not so long ago, they had one of those machines that tunneled under. And can we buy one of those machines and start real small? As we go, if we have more money we can throw into it, get some federal funding for that kind of thing. But I support building a city where we can be carless. Thank you.
Betsy, thank you.
Again.
That was mine.
That was Jim's. You get that one, my friend. You get that one. If we are going to be the greatest city of the 21st century, we need a dense network of light rail, streetcars, buses, bike trails, places for people to walk, because our prosperity depends on it. People who are going to invest in the city, either as homeowners, as business owners, as renters, need to be able to get to their jobs. They need to be able to get to and from their fun. They need to be able to get to and from one another. That's fundamental to what we need as a city. And if we're going to be unified as a city, we need to make sure to place those transportation networks everywhere, including where they're needed most. We need to put opportunities where they're needed most. Because a piece of the prosperity that comes with a dense transportation network is the opportunity not just to get people to their jobs, but to bring jobs to people along those transit corridors.
So I'm done.
Duke Ellington said you could take the A train, and you can still take the A train today in New York City to go to Harlem. That's because there's a track, it's infrastructure, it's dependable from generation to generation. That's the beauty of rail. That's why I support light rail and streetcars for fast access to the metro and efficient, accessible access between neighborhoods. And businesses can depend on it, they can build, And neighbors can be sure that you can leave the state to go to college and come back, and you don't have to wonder which bus to take. But buses are important because they're an easy investment. So we're going to invest in BRT where that is effective. On our corridors like Chicago, Emerson, Penn Avenue, and other parts of the city. And then we're going to have a good local network of buses connecting to BRT, streetcars, LRT. We're going to be a connected city for a connected future.
And Cam. You didn't answer this one.
Yeah, I think it's me.
Oh.
So let's just
you.
pause.
I'm glad you're at it.
Pause for a second and recognize how far we've come. I was the chairman of the Hennepin County Light Rail Transit Authority the day we voted to create the Hiawatha Light Rail line. I personally negotiated with Ramsey County the deal to do the second line down University Avenue, downtown to downtown. And back in those days, everybody was against it. The newspaper was against it. Many of our Hennepin County legislators were against it. And today we realize what a critical element transit is to our quality of life, to our ability to grow jobs, to our ability to get from one place to another, to our ability to grow tax base. Transit is fundamental, and a fully developed, mature, multimodal transit system is a prescription for success for our community.
Thank you. Reading the next question, I was trying to make it a little simpler, but to get the whole gist, I'm going to read the whole thing. And it first goes to Jim. So, given the city's need for property tax revenue, as well as the growing desirability of Minneapolis as a place to live, how do you intend to balance quality of life with the need for denser infill development? Specifically, how do you intend to balance the desires of neighborhood associations with the needs of the city at large?
Whoa. I was a little concerned when she thought she had to make it a simpler question for me. When it comes to balancing these of the community and the city, one of the things that recently happened was the school board sold the Northrop site to Heritage Foundation. And there was a desire amongst the community to have a senior housing on that site. And they were even willing to share it with a school. And that's one of the things where I think we could have facilitated that as a city and said, hey, look, let's not only make it a school, there's plenty of room there. Let's combine it. Let's pull some of the tax base back into the city and use creative kind of community discussions and thinking about how can we make it work. It's common sense. You have to do it in your own household in terms of making a budget, working between what your wishes were and what your kids' wishes are and your spouse. So thank you very much.
Betsy.
Now it's just not even funny. I have seen firsthand how the tensions about increased development versus growth versus neighborhoods, I've seen the tension that can create in a neighborhood and what that can do in a neighborhood. The great thing is that if we are doing our transit right, those questions tend to get quieter and quieter and quieter. Because if we do our light rail correctly, if we do our streetcars correctly, they are natural places in our community corridors where development will happen. It's part of what makes our city prosper. When we do transit right, it draws investment. It draws people who want to live there, people who want to work there, people who want to play there, in places that are natural for development and growth to occur. That said, we all need to have leadership that knows how to address those tensions as they come up. That's part of being a leader in the city of Minneapolis, is knowing that you need to strike that balance.
It goes to Mark. I'll get it right this time, Mark.
The role of the mayor in determining how dense our development is a collective decision. The local decisions, the neighborhood decisions, are going to be driven by neighbors, by the neighborhood, by the city council member, and the mayor has to establish the overlay. What is in the best interests of our community? High-density development is in the immediate future of our city if I am mayor. We have to have high-density development most places in the city because we are in a hurry to drive tax base, employment, and attract more population. We are in a hurry to get more people around transit lines because when we have more people around transit lines, transit is less expensive. So development as a general statement needs to happen quickly. It needs to be generally high density. Our focus is going to be on North Minneapolis, on the riverfront, and in the commercial nodes of our city.
Don.
Can you repeat the question?
Do you want me to really? How about the last sentence? Okay. Specifically, how do you intend to balance the desires of neighborhood associations with the needs of the city at large?
Well, you know, our city is made up of neighborhoods. We're a city of neighborhoods. In fact, we are every year we win the National Night Out Award. And we have the strongest neighborhoods of cities across the country. And the weakest neighborhood is the place where that demonstrates what kind of city we are. As our former mayor said, that those in the margins of life, what we are is determined by how we treat those in the margins of life. And I continue to say we will not be the promised land we want to be until we cross the Jordan neighborhood. And so we have to begin to look seriously about the communities that are left behind, whether south or north, and move in as one leadership to make one community, one city, our city. Thank you.
Jackie?
If we're going to be a successful city, we can do one of four things. We can increase our property taxes, we can decrease our services, we can raise our property taxes, and we can redesign government. Those are kind of our four options of how we're going to do this. We need to build a strong tax base. We need to build a strong tax base in this city if we're going to survive and we're going to be a strong city. The fact of the matter is, and the sad fact of the matter is, that a lot of the discussions about density in our city aren't about density at all. They're about who's going to be living in those dense buildings. We need to be honest about that. It's not about how many units, it's who our new neighbors are going to be. And there's a lot of fear. We need to work with our neighborhoods. We need to educate people about what affordable housing is and what workforce housing is. That's what the mayor needs to do. The mayor needs to lead in that discussion. We need to have a strategic housing development plan for our city. And as mayor, I will lead that. I've done that before. I've done that in my neighborhood. I've bridged differences in very, very difficult discussions around this issue. And we've been successful. We can do it again.
Cam?
Living in a city rather than out in the suburbs, I think dense development is the norm. It's what we all expected when we moved here. Here again, I think you'll see, though, the fresh set of eyes versus same old, same old. Someone coming from with a fresh set of eyes recognizes that, you know, development, it's not always going to work out exactly the way you want it to. You can't sit there in City Hall and say, that's one story too tall, we want it shorter or nothing. Or that one over there, no, it's just not exactly the way we dreamed it would be. Coming from the private sector, I recognize that reality is messy sometimes. You don't always get it exactly what you want. And what I'm getting at here is in my extended neighborhood, I live in the Fulton neighborhood and we're adjacent to Linden Hills. So in one project in Linden Hills and one on the border of Linden Hills and Fulton, in the past year, there have been 2 viable proposals for dense development. And some of the other candidates have done everything in their power to nix those developments, to make it so that those projects wouldn't be built. As mayor, I'd set the framework, but then let the process run so that we can have that dense development we need to be a thriving city.
And Gary.
Well, great neighborhoods make a city great. As mayor, I will continue funding to neighborhood organizations so that neighborhood organizations can continue to be partners with making long-term plans for our neighborhoods that we can adopt into our comprehensive plan. Because the growth we need is sustainable growth. Sustainable growth that plans for the needs of future generations without compromising our current resources. Our biggest growth in housing in the next decade will be the senior population who want to age in place. That will put new pressures on all neighborhoods for new services, for new types of housing. Downtown Minneapolis, we have 3 high-rises right now under construction that will add $1.5 million in tax base per building. That is going to be a tremendous opportunity, and it's going to fit downtown. But we can't lose the character of our bungalow neighborhoods. We can't lose the character of Linden Hills, which is currently undergoing a long-term master plan. And we can't lose the character of what's made Minneapolis great up until now in order to meet the future needs.
Thank you. The next question, you're just waiting, aren't you? It'll go to Cam, and it is, what should be done to fight homelessness in the city of Minneapolis?
We need more housing in our city. We need more new housing, and we need redoubled efforts to preserve our existing housing. As mayor, here are the things I would do to lead that. First, does anybody here work for the Minneapolis Public Housing Agency? They've done incredible work. Talk about a remarkable, wonderful turnaround story in the past 5 years. They have an incredibly difficult job, and I'd make sure they have the resources they need to keep doing their job of owning facilities, owning housing that our residents live in. Secondly, for the Section 8 program, the Section 8 program is a vital part of our vibrant city. For those who don't know, Section 8 is a voucher that the Federal Housing and Urban Development Department pays for. And people who need a hand up with housing get that voucher and can spend it on privately owned housing. I have neighbors that happen to be Section 8 recipients, but I certainly don't look at them as Section 8 recipients. I look at them as neighbors, just people that I'm going through life with, raising families next to. And so we need to be welcoming to Section 8 recipients across our entire city as part of getting more people into stable housing arrangements.
Mark?
When I was on the county board, I created a task force, a collaborative with the city of Minneapolis called the City County Homeless Task Force. That task force today is the Heading Home Hennepin homeless initiative that is achieving so much success today. The problem of homelessness is probably to some extent or another always going to be there a little bit, but our aspiration needs to be to rid our community of homelessness. My solution to that is now what it has always been. Even though the homeless population demographic has changed. It's gone from being hard to employ white guys to single moms with kids to people with profound mental health and chemical disabilities to a hodgepodge that causes several hundred people to be on the streets a lot of the time. What we need to do is shore up our homeless facilities, provide 24-hour shelter for the homeless, and then work on a system of services that get us from homelessness to supported living, to training and semi-independence, and finally, God willing, a job and a place to call home.
Gary?
I've grown up in a family of faith that taught me the value of helping others. And I've talked before about volunteering in homeless shelters when I was quite young. And with Mark and with Councilmember Hodges, I've served on the City County Task Force to end homelessness. But the homeless population has still doubled during this recession. We're losing ground. And so we need the next mayor of Minneapolis to raise the voice, to sound the urgency, and to speak out so that everybody has an affordable place to live in our city. We have to work together with partnership with the feds and the county to make sure that we're addressing youth homelessness, that we're treating our vets with respect who have come back from war, and to find solutions to the mental illness epidemic that challenges so many cities around the country. And that's what I will do as mayor.
Thank you. Don?
No doubt about it, homelessness has increased over the last few years, and I think and I pray that it will go down as our economy turns around, because economic conditions do increase or decrease homelessness. But even if we settle down the economy and reduce homelessness, there'll still be too much. And we must now pledge that nobody will die in the city of Minneapolis during a winter because they have no place to go. And we have to make sure that people do not have to go into the public libraries and to hang out and into our businesses to get out of the cold. We need 24-hour homeless shelters. And we also need to, like charities, Catholic Charities facility that was just created, create the homeless shelters that transition people upward from overnight to monthly to an apartment and so on into the mainstream. It should always be about transformation and transition, not just a handout. Thank you.
Jim?
I think the most important aspect of homelessness is the inability to make a living that will allow you to pay for your rent. So I think that's one of the first places we need to look at. I think we need to really join other cities to talk about raising minimum wage. Nationwide, it's, I think, the equivalent of what our minimum wage is now. I think when in the late 60s, $2 an hour would translate to, I don't know, $12 or $14 an hour now. It's a lot more than you would think it would be. So that's one thing, to encourage raising the standard of living. Everybody deserves a decent wage for their jobs. The second thing is a lot of youth are homeless because of family situations and other kinds of situations. And there are some organizations that are popping up that are trying to train people and get people to take short-term, especially for youth, short-term places to stay. So you commit to a few months for a young adult that needs a place to stay that's safe and can help them get back on their feet. Thank you.
Betsy? No, Jackie. Sorry.
Absolutely, people need to get to work. People need a job. That's one of the real ways of addressing homelessness. But that being said, we have to look at who the homeless population is. First of all, we need to work with our mental health providers. There is an issue of mental health and homelessness, and we need to connect with the mental health providers and provide them the support they need. We need to deal with the issue of homeless youth. No youth should be homeless. We need to raise up, support, and provide more opportunities like the Nicholas Square Project, which is focused on housing homeless youth. We need to make sure our veterans have housing opportunities. And we need to work with the very, very difficult to house population of people who are returning from incarceration. Those are some of the most difficult folks to house because there is simply no place for them to live, and they are homeless. We need to figure out how we deal with that, and we need to support organizations like the Network for Better Futures that are providing housing for those men and women. We need to redouble our efforts with the Public Housing Authority. We have 10,000 people on the waiting list for Section 8 units, the Public Housing Authority. We need to support the Public Housing Authority. We need to advocate with Cora McCorvey. We need to make all those people have the opportunity to have housing.
And now, Betsy, it's your turn.
Sorry about it. If one part of our community is struggling, our community is struggling. And that is most noticeable with the issue of homelessness. That said, I am very proud of the work the city has done with the county in that program called Heading Home Hennepin. I have served on that executive committee. I was on Gail Dorfman's staff when she and the county helped create the Affordable Housing Incentive Fund, which she did with my husband. And that work is crucial. It has acknowledged that we need shelter, but that is not a solution. It has acknowledged, and we have done work to create opportunities for people for housing and for jobs. Also acknowledging that a lot of people who are homeless have jobs, they just can't afford a place to live. That work is important. And that being said, the recession hit people hard. And our role at the city is to redouble our efforts on Heading Home Hennepin, our plan to end homelessness, aim as high as we can to end homelessness, to do the work needed to make sure that people get shelter and that they get the services they need to support them in that shelter if they need them, and that they have a job that allows them to afford that shelter.
Actually, you'll get to start with the next question.
Great.
So, and this will be the last question. As I mentioned in the beginning, instead of a closing statement, if you want to add something you would normally say in a closing statement, you may do that as you're answering this question. However, this is a difficult question. The metro area has the dubious distinction of having the worst disparity in the nation between African American and white unemployment. If mayor, what will you do about this?
It's what I mean when I talk about unifying the city. The people I've talked to and the stories I've heard let me know on a very personal level how much work needs to be done here. But when we talk about creating opportunities for folks, when we talk about closing gaps, part of what that means is we have to elevate our expectations for everybody. We have to believe that people can meet those expectations, and we have to create opportunities that allow them to meet those expectations. So the key is making sure, first, that we are putting opportunities where opportunities are needed most. The communities that need jobs in those communities. We need to make sure we have a transportation network that we will grow jobs around that transit network, but it also allows people to get to and from their jobs. And we need to create incentives for people to put jobs, for companies to put jobs, entrepreneurs to put their jobs where they're needed most. And I know that the Minnesota Chamber is working with philanthropy to create an incentive program for just that reason, and the city needs to support that. And the sign says stop, and I ask for your vote for mayor.
Jackie.
I live in a community which exemplifies the disparity we're talking about. We need to create jobs. We need to ensure that we are out there looking for those jobs that are coming back to our shores again. We need to create manufacturing jobs in our communities. We need to identify training sources to ensure that people are trained for the jobs that are available. And we need to ensure that we keep jobs in the city. We've lost about 28,000 jobs out of the city of Minneapolis in the last 10 years. That's a lot of jobs. It's a lot of opportunity missed for people in our neighborhoods. So we need to be strategic about what we're doing. We need to not just be funding driven about what we're doing. We need to have a strategic, overriding plan for creating jobs. I would look at recreating the Industrial Development Commission, which in past years was chartered with making sure that we kept employment in our city and that we kept those jobs in our city. So it's a strategic effort to identify those jobs that are out there, make sure people are trained for them, and create new jobs in our city. I have the experience, I have the energy, and I have the commitment to be the mayor of the city of Minneapolis. I ask for your vote.
Mark?
It can be the African American population. It could be the Latino population. It could be working people who are earning substandard wages. But the fact of the matter is we've got 27,600 fewer jobs in our city than we did in 2001. 8.8% of our workforce has shrunk. This is one area where I've been critical of the city. The city has been slow on the uptake to forge innovative solutions. I have stated that my first priority is going to be on the jobs front to go to North Minneapolis. I have already spoken with the former president of the university about setting up a private sector-driven task force to attract a company, light manufacturing, in to get us a jump start. 200 jobs, 300 jobs. Just get us a start. And then we attack in a more forceful, a more comprehensive, a more holistic way the issue of job training and helping get these populations back on their feet and into the workforce.
Cam?
I've lived this topic. I mentioned how my coworkers and I built a wind turbine maintenance company providing services for wind turbines across the country and around the world. We're based right here in Minnesota, 120 employees, making good paychecks, full benefits, taking care of their families with that paycheck. I sat every month with the CEO. I was the number 2, he was the CEO, and we would decide whether or not to hire. So I know what it takes to create jobs. We need to do 3 things in Minneapolis. First, streamline the process to get the necessary approvals to start a business in Minneapolis or expand an existing one. I don't mean tinker around the edges as the current leadership has done. I mean completely revamp it in the following ways. 1, make it more convenient. Put all of it online. Currently, you have to go to downtown Minneapolis and get a number and wait to get essentially a permission slip to start your business. No more. When I'm mayor of Minneapolis, if you want to start a business, you can go online rather than wait in line. We'll shorten the period down to 3 weeks. If the city hasn't said anything about it in 3 weeks, you're approved. That's groundbreaking, but it's what we need to create the jobs that we need in our city. And the third thing is to support the great work of programs like Step Up. If you haven't met a Step Up kid, you should. Thousands of kids across our community learning professional job skills right here in our city with partnerships in the private sector. Thank you.
Donna?
This is a stubborn, tough problem. In spite of our platitudes and our civil rights movement and our laws, these disparities and our good intentions, these disparities still exist. So I say, nothing's going to change until we start measuring everything and holding everybody accountable. So we have now an exalted requirement to 32% participation by minorities. We have to measure everything and hold them accountable, whether it be the stadium or our city staff and departments. I'm glad I partnered with Councilmember Glidden to ban the box that prohibited many ex-offenders from getting work because people just saw the box checked for ex-offender and threw it in the wastebasket. And we're working on everybody in to make sure everybody joins the prosperity that's coming as the economy bounces back. And I'm on that committee. There's work to be done, but we got to be objective and don't indulge ourselves by saying we're nice people, the job's done. Measure it and hold people accountable.
Thank you. Gary?
Stadiums don't end poverty. Look at Detroit, 2 stadiums, 3 casinos, 15% unemployment rate. If we spent $1 billion investing in early childhood education, if we made sure that every child growing up in poverty had access to prenatal care, had access to early childhood education, had access to Head Start, had access to quality health care, then we will shrink the disparities. I am committed to the accountability. I am committed to the measurements and the goals, but I will put the investment where it needs to be put, which is disrupting the cycle of poverty that continues through our community like a plague, and it robs our city of the future chance of the next generation to live to the quality of life that so many of us enjoy in our city today.
Jim?
I think there's a couple practical things we can do. I think you don't change people, but you can provide incentives. And I think that's, if we want businesses to hired more people they're outside the norm in terms of whatever the group is. It's whatever people are unrepresented in the workforce, we want those people to be hired because obviously they're having more trouble. So we provide incentives. The second thing we do is we deal with this state testing in a way that excludes a lot of our kids that are not passing the state tests. They can't get high school educations, and a lot of those kids are people of color. And so we can address some of those issues right now that way to make sure that they're not excluded from jobs because they don't have their high school degree yet. And for my closing statement, I want to thank my wife, Dottie Brown, for being here and ask you for your vote. And please stop by and talk to me afterwards. I think we got another round though, don't we?
Now we're going to finish the forum with what we call a lightning round. And we have some interesting questions. I hope are there enough in here? I think so. There should be at least one for each of you. And we're going to start here, and this time we are going to go around. And you get to pick a question and answer it in no more than one sentence. If you can answer it with just a word, or a yes or no or maybe, that's okay too. And then the same question will be answered by everybody, and then pass the basket on. And what you do with the mics, you guys got to figure that out. You can.
What?
Well, take a mic because you're going to have to move this around. So here.
Can I borrow somebody's reading glasses? No. I've got it. I've got. Do you think ranked choice voting will impact this year's election, this year's campaign? I'm hoping so.
So I answered this question or
No,
another
answer
question?
the same one. Okay.
So do I think ranked choice voting will impact this year's campaign? Yes, I do, for the better.
Yes, I think what we've seen tonight is an example, an end to negative campaigning and personal attacks, and a focus on the issues.
It'll increase participation. It will take the fangs out of some of the political discourse, and it will allow for more people to have more choices and learn more from the other candidates.
I went through it once and I won. I'm going through it now and I'll win.
Yes, in my case, I'm not seeking the endorsement of any party. Ranked choice voting enables me to build a coalition across party lines, people from all walks of life in all parts of our city who want that fresh set of eyes looking at the challenges we face.
Yes, it gives every part of our city much more of a voice in this election, and it makes it much more fun as a candidate because I don't have to stop the conversation with everybody. I can say, but I could be your second choice.
The universe is funny. This is my question. As mayor, would you ever be willing to renegotiate pension/health benefits? I have.
Yes, and to give further praise where praise is due, Councilmember Hodges oversaw the merger and the successful renegotiation of pensions as chair of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee, and Elizabeth Glidden was a big team player in that effort as well.
The stability that resulted from that causes me to say, let's not change it. It's a good thing. It was a great job. Good progress.
Yeah, ditto.
On the topic of the pensions that have been renegotiated, let's leave them be. But the point remains that as we go forward, we need to make sure that we're providing benefits that are fair to folks, but at the same time, don't crowd out everything else that we need to do as a city. So I do think it's time that we look at defined contribution benefit plans rather than just defined benefit plans.
I've got 2 minutes. Yes, and I compliment the council on the work that they did in renegotiating the pensions and providing more stability to our city.
Jim?
I'm part of one of those benefit plans, and mine has been renegotiated, so I'm kicking in more money. What I like about it is not cutting my future benefits, although I am contributing more. So I think there are ways to do it that are humane, and sometimes it has to be done.
Next question. Will you work to find a way for the Minneapolis Police Department to find alternative vendors for police weapons and munitions other than Smith, Wesson, and Remington, both manufacturers of assault weapons? This issue came up earlier with Mayor Ryback being asked, and the answer was pointed out that under the current police contract, the police get to purchase their own weapons with the money that they get from the city of Minneapolis. So it would take a big renegotiation of the police union in order to get to this point of choosing the manufacturer. And I'm going to be focused on other areas of the police department up first, including building trust and ending police brutality.
I'm going to revisit that issue when I'm mayor in consultation with Chief Hartel. And in furtherance of my activities on other guns, I will continue to support every and all unconstitutional methods of getting rid of guns off our streets as possible.
I'm in it, I'm on it, and I'm with the mayor on this one, and we're going to make sure we hold these gun manufacturers accountable. We can't have these big assault weapons floating through our community and killing our children. And you can count on me that this is one way to get the NRA where it hurts.
To answer the question that was asked, no, I'm not going to make a political football out of the weapon that's in the hands of someone who's putting him or herself in harm's way to keep my family safe at night. No, I would not do that.
Philosophically, it makes sense, but I think Councilmember Schiff points out the practical realities of life. I'm much more interested in figuring out how we reinstate the Civilian Review Board and bring more accountability to our police officers.
I would be in favor of renegotiating that contract, and I'm wondering if NERF produces any weapons that we might use.
Questioning whether we should give our money to folks who are advocating against our best interest is the role at the city, semicolon. That said, there are a host of public safety issues that will be important to tackle as mayor.
Just a word that your answers are getting a little longer.
Okay, here's a political one. If you do not receive the endorsement, will you run anyway? I will probably support the endorsement process, but need to hear unanimity from all of the candidates so we are all singing off the same sheet of music.
We chose ranked choice voting for a reason. We can rank the contestants and eliminate them ourselves. And so I think if I make a good showing, the people deserve to make that choice.
Since I'm not running for the endorsement of any party, let me take this opportunity to ask for your vote, your first choice vote. And semicolon, if for whatever reason you'd prefer to give your first choice vote to someone else, I certainly hope I can earn your second choice vote. Thank you.
Got this weird thing going on with the microphones up here. I want your vote for mayor. I'm running for mayor. I anticipate that there will probably not be an endorsement. I want an endorsement. I'm running for that endorsement. I ask for your support. And I agree with Mr. Andrews that we'll wait and see what happens if there is, if nobody is endorsed, I will run. If someone else is endorsed, we'll have to see what happens with everyone else, but I would anticipate probably supporting the endorsed candidate.
I'm a little late into this game, so I don't really think my chances of getting endorsed are real good at this point. But I want my voice heard, and so I want to stay in the election. And so my choice is to continue to run so my voice can be heard.
When the field is set and candidates have agreed, I will know the answer to that question.
I will abide by the DFL endorsement because I believe in the DFL. We are stronger as a party when we stand together, and I believe that ranked choice voting means that we should endorse to make a clear designation of which candidate best aligns with the progressive values of the Democratic Farmer Labor Party.
Now, with your permission, I'm going to read 3 questions because as I picked them out, I discarded them, and I want to make sure if anybody was watching me, you don't think I'm cheating. So the next question I picked out, first question said, would you confirm whether you're seeking the endorsement? The next question said, if you're not received the endorsement, will you run anyway? So I think we've kind of answered those. And so I'll read the third one, which is, should the Board of Estimate and Taxation be abolished? I don't think so. I think it serves an important independent function, and a specialty organization that deals with the value of our properties is worth keeping.
You got to answer the question about the Board of Estimate.
This lightning round tripped me up. Okay. I do not think the Board of Estimate and Taxation should be abolished. I learned a fun fact about the BET recently. The members get paid $35 per meeting. That's probably the most effective use of money in the city. The BET sets a threshold above which property tax increases cannot go.
I do not support abolishing the Board of Estimate and Taxation. I think they perform an excellent function, as do our other elected boards in Minneapolis, our school board and our park board, and I support them all.
I do not support getting rid of the black entertainment the taxation. What I do like also is, and I don't know if we still have the program, but they have a, if you make improvements on your home, you can get a reduced rate for a period of time, and I really like that. I'd like to see that continue if it's not.
More important than whether I think we should eliminate the Board of Estimate and Taxation is what you think. And we asked you in 2009, and you said no. Therefore, I say no.
No, and thank you, David Wheeler, for sitting through a very long evening tonight and for running for re-election to the Board of Estimate and Taxation.
I agree with everybody else. It serves a very useful function, great for oversight and protecting the integrity of the budget process.
Okay. Now you can choose another question. Cam.
Who is already endorsing you? A whole lot of folks from every walk of life across our city, from every political party you can think of. I've learned of political parties I never knew existed in this process. Let me give you one name that I'm particularly proud of. You know, as I've mentioned, I'm not seeking the endorsement of the DFL party. Oh, it's the lightning round. I keep forgetting. Sorry. Ash Medea, former DFL endorsed candidate for the 3rd Congressional District, is my campaign treasurer and a dear friend of mine. I'm proud of his support.
I'm supported by former city coordinator and council member Kathleen O'Brien, former mayor Sharon Sells Belton, current county commissioner Linda Higgins, a host of neighbors, my mom, Pat Parker, my husband, F. Clayton Tyler, and most importantly, my daughter, Emma Tyler.
Hi, I am supported by my next-door neighbor, Chris Hoff, my campaign manager, and I hope to win my wife's endorsement fairly soon.
I am proud to have the support of the Latino Caucus, the African American Caucus, my co-chairs Scott Dibble and Josie Johnson, state legislators Frank Hornstein and Jean Wagenius, Hennepin County Commissioner Gail Dorfman, my husband, current Metropolitan Council member Gary Cunningham, Board of Estimate and Taxation member David Wheeler, Park Board member Brad Bourne, former school board members Peggy Flanagan, Tom Madden, and Pam Costain, former library board member Laura Waterman Whitstock, and a host of other folks out in the community, out in the neighborhoods, and my mom and dad.
I'm proud to have the only union endorsement in this race from the men and women of Minneapolis Firefighters Local 82. Also proud to have the endorsements of over 150 locally owned small business owners. And the endorsements of my co-chair, Bill Ziegler, the chair of Little Earth of United Tribes, Mahmoud Noor, as well as Kim Bartman, who runs the best bowling alley in all of Minneapolis at Bryant Lake Bowl, and State Representative Karen Clark.
I'm endorsed by my 3 co-chairs, Commissioner Peter McLaughlin, Alberto Monserrate, who's the chair of the Minneapolis School Board, Anita Tabb from the Minneapolis Park Board, Scott Vreeland from the Minneapolis Park Board, State Representative Phyllis Kahn, State Representative Jim Davney. I'm sure I'm probably missing somebody. And the Young DFL, we were endorsed by the My DFL, and a host of other activists, neighborhoods, business people, and happily, my family.
Well, I don't have a dramatic endorsement story to tell. I'm probably the newest comer to politics in the city of all of my competitors here. So I'm working on them. I have some almosts that I'm going to be announcing in a minute. But I have the endorsement of the police chief, former police chief, Minneapolis, Tim Dolan, who is my chair, and I look forward to your endorsement. Thank you.
Okay, the question is, government structure. Do you support charter change to give more responsibility and accountability to professional management? Yes.
I'll consider that a little more when I understand what it means, so I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Minneapolis likes our leadership accountable at the ballot box? No.
Yes, I would support a charter change on the ballot in order to create a city manager so that we can stop the waste of taxpayer dollars and have more effective accountability in City Hall.
The Minneapolis city governing structure is too decentralized and inefficient, and I would not support this change.
I wouldn't support the change. I think we're doing okay there. That's not a big problem in the city.
I would not support the change because the buck needs to stop with the mayor, someone who has a fresh set of eyes.
And that's the end of our forum. It was fun. Oops.